All right, so the term is 3 to 6 month emergency fund. We've established that it is 3 to 6 months of expenses. 3 to 6 months, that seems like a big range. Is it 3 or 6 or in the middle? How does that work out?
Yeah. So the reason it's a range is because everyone's situation is somewhat different. Yeah. So if you are living on fixed income, your income does not vary from month to month very much, then the answer is you're probably better to go closer to the 3 months. You'll probably be okay. If you have more of a variable income, this could be you're on commission, you have some other things that could be there or could not be there. You're self-employed, you've got jobs that are there or not there. Well, you probably want more of an emergency fund, maybe 6 months of expenses stored up in reserve to carry you through. So it depends on stable, regular income, lower, more variable income, higher. It also can go towards, well, are you in an industry that commonly goes through disruption? Are you in a company that's going through potential hard times where there might be layoffs in the future? If there's uncertainty with regard to your industry, with regard to your company, then you should probably try to store up closer to the 6 end of the spectrum rather than the 3 end of the spectrum to be able to kind of carry yourself through. Likewise, if there are storm clouds on the horizon, there are things that are coming up that's uncertain. Maybe there's a potential diagnosis coming. Maybe there's you're expecting a child and there's a birth coming up. Well, we want to make sure that this is a good time to be trying to store up more reserves than less reserves to kind of carry you through the period of uncertainty. Once baby's here, diagnosis is here, and it's okay, it's not going to be at the end of the world, then we can kind of spend down some of that emergency fund, pay off some debt, and keep on going with life.
I need to bring in this idea of different industries. I remember my father-in-law had his own business, civil engineering and land surveying business. I remember one time I was over at his house. I think it was in the very early years of our marriage, like probably the first year. And I remember him coming in the door. I was there. Cheryl and I were over for dinner. He popped his briefcase on the counter, opened it up. I happened to be right next to it. I looked in and I saw at least a dozen checks made out to him, spewed over to his paychecks. And I remember looking up to him and say, "Hey, Dad, you going to cash those checks?" And he looked at me. He goes, "Do you want to cash yours?" And they're like, "Yeah, I would love to cash mine." He goes, "And those checks stay right there." This young boy didn't understand that at that time, but there were some economic challenges that the business was going through, and he had to go into his own reserves to keep his company afloat, keep things operational. The business wasn't coming in because construction ebbs and flows, and It was one of those times I learned that those reserve pieces are critical. He said, "I will cash those checks someday, but right now, if you want to cash yours, they're going to stay right there in the briefcase." This young man didn't get all that picture back then, but boy, did I understand it now. And Tim, you probably understand that as a businessman yourself,
Sure.
that things ebb and flow. So we need to prepare for those times when life happens, business happens. You got to make sure that you have something squirreled away for those rainy days.
Yeah. One more thing to kind of go towards the 3 to 6 month question is if you have dual income and both spouses are working for the same company or in the same industry, or there are potential issues with the dual income all being tied to the same income source, there's probably a reason to be a little higher on that savings and reserve range. On the flip side, if you're dual income and you are in very different industries, very different, like they're both stable, they're both like no issues or concerns, maybe at that point you could justify sliding down towards the 3 month end of the spectrum. So there is some variation or impact that dual income will have on the decision as well.
And let's bring in single income. Let's say you are single. And I think a very important thing is because you don't have that additional partner, that spouse to help during those light times, I think it's very important that single person choose to, as best they can, build the higher range. Why? Because things happen. And I know it's difficult for a single person to do that nowadays in this industry. But I've also met some single people, as we've done our seminar across the country, some single people that are making some amazingly incredible incomes, and they can easily tuck some money away, but yet they have not.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. If you're single, let's make sure you have that, because for you yourself, you may be between jobs.
Yeah.
And you need that little bit of a break, financial break, to get you to that next stop.
Yeah, if you're a single income family with kids, especially too, make sure you slide higher on that spectrum.
Thank you. I was about to say that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.